Thank you, Chair and members. I am Dr. Laura Haynes, California licensed psychologist. I'm a consultant for the American College of Pediatricians and the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, representing 4,000 physicians and health professionals. We urge you to reject SB 179 for the following reasons. A person's biological sex is determined at conception and cannot be changed. A birth certificate is a legal document that records the immutable fact that a person's biological sex at birth. Children cannot make an informed decision to attempt to transition to a gender identity different from their biological sex. Children are easily influenced by parents or other adults who may have their own motives for desiring the child's change. Over 80% of children who are not programmed to impersonate a different sex grow out of this ideation by late adolescence. The APA Handbook of Sexuality and Psychology cautions against having the community socially transition gender dysphoric children because if they reverse to identify with their biological sex, the distress has been shown to be substantial. Medical treatments for promoting a gender transition, such as puberty-blocking drugs or cross-sex hormones, may cause irreversible adverse health effects, including sterility. The present law protects everyone. SB 179 allows biological men to legally access private spaces reserved for women. This endangers women and children. This could have a devastating effect on female athletes, where boys and men could attain an unfair advantage in women's sports by changing their birth certificate. This could adversely affect the ability of biological girls from California to compete for college scholarships after being defeated by biological boys. This legislation is offensive to a majority of citizens in California, especially survivors of sexual assault. We urge you to oppose SB 179.
Microphone. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Matthew McReynolds, Senior Staff Attorney with Pacific Justice Institute. I'll be brief. We're, first of all, well aware of the strong LGBTQ lobby that's here and the support it has amongst the members. So we don't contest a lot of bills like this, but we do occasionally need to just ask some questions and contest where all this is going. As far as the changes to the identification, at last count, there were more than 58 genders that have been identified by Facebook. By some accounts, 70. And so it doesn't seem in some ways like this goes nearly far enough in identifying all the genders that are out there. And so there has to be some kind of limitation on that, whether that's 2 or 3. And I just think this is going to lead to more and more similar efforts, none of which are going to satisfy the lobbyists and will ultimately just undermine the integrity of our identification documents. Fortunately for all of you, I do not have a California driver's license. I do have a personal identification card, and I'm told that it lists a number of things like birth, height, weight, gender, or sex, as well as home address. To the degree that all of these become more subjective, the integrity of the process is undermined. And I would just point out, we've also raised concerns about compliance with the Federal Real ID Act. We've seen with the new administration, there is a willingness to sometimes create chaos at airports in the pursuit of new policies. And so we hope that some consideration has been given to how this act would interplay and comply with federal law, and we fear that it has not and could lead to similar chaos. So with those observations, we respectfully oppose the bill.
Hello there, my name is Eric Urine. I'm with Everlasting Ministries. I work with several other ministries in the Sacramento community and multiple churches. I don't want to discuss like an individual's free will or what they can and cannot do. I just want to simply share with you my testimony, what I know being a pastor and having done counseling with many people that have dealt with these issues of gender identification. And the struggles that they go through, just as we heard earlier, are real. And my experience is, though, is that there is an answer. Obviously, being a pastor, I believe in the power of prayer and in Jesus. And I have seen people walk into what I believe is the destiny and the purpose that God has for them in their lives through prayer. And with that, I want to talk to a broader issue, I believe, in being in truth. What is truth, and do you believe in truth? Which takes precedence? A feeling about oneself or a fact of nature? Feelings can change at any time, and for all sorts of reasons. Facts are indisputable, set in concrete. This is why the very foundation of our nation was built on truths, for the foundation built on feelings cannot stand long before it crumbles. No lie ever comes from truth. That which is true is always in accordance with the facts. The quote I have here, the idea that one's sex is a feeling, not a fact, is permitted in our culture and is leaving casualties in its wake. Gender dysphoria should be treated, not encouraged. Now, this is a quote from Dr. Paul R. McHugh, distinctive service professor of psychology at Johns Hopkins University and former psychiatrist in chief for Johns Hopkins Hospital, who studied transgendered people for 40-plus years and was one of the pioneers of sex-changing surgery operations. Demonstrated that the practice brought no important benefits to the individuals, and as a result, Johns Hopkins University stopped using that form of treatment in the 1970s. Again, I continue to quote, he said, "It is a scientific fact that transgendered men do not become women, nor do transgender women become men. They become feminized men or masculinized women, counterfeits or impersonators of the sex of which they identify with. Plenty of evidence demonstrates that transgenderizing is a psychological issue rather than a biological matter." I stand here to point out, to ask what is real. It's not to ask whether the things they go through are real or not, but I do so because I believe that truth does matter. And I can tell you that I've seen many victims in my life that have suffered dealing with these issues. I believe that once truth is replaced with one's own feelings that is built upon, the very foundation of our society begins to crumble. And historically, we have seen that as precedents.
Sure.
It's happened in some of the great...
Stop you for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yeah, I conclude that right now.